ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to be with you today. Let me tell you, there's something extraordinary about living life with a heart tuned to the whispers of your spirit. Each of us has an inner voice, a divine connection that's always guiding, always speaking. The question is, are we listening? When you learn to hear in your spirit, you tap into a wisdom that's higher than your own understanding, a power that transcends every limitation, and a peace that anchors you through every storm. Stillness is one of the most powerful ways to unlock clarity in your spirit. In today's world, it seems like there's always something vying for our attention. The noise is constant, the buzz of notifications, the chatter of conversations, the endless stream of thoughts running through our minds. In the middle of all this, it can feel nearly impossible to hear anything beyond the surface. Yet that quiet whisper in your spirit, the one that offers guidance, wisdom, and peace, is often waiting for you in the stillness. When life is loud, it's easy to overlook the value of silence. Our culture often glorifies being busy, equating constant motion with productivity and success. But some of the most profound breakthroughs don't happen in the chaos, they happen in the quiet. Stillness creates space for clarity. When you pause, you begin to notice the thoughts and feelings that were drowned out by the noise. You give your spirit a chance to breathe, to process, and to connect with the divine source of wisdom that's always available to you. Think about how easy it is to mishear someone in a crowded room. Even if they're speaking directly to you, the surrounding noise makes it hard to focus. You may catch parts of their words, but the full message gets lost. The same thing happens when your spirit tries to communicate with you in the middle of life's distractions. It's not that the voice isn't speaking, it's that you're not positioned to listen. Stillness helps you tune out the noise so you can hear more clearly. Stillness isn't just about physical quiet, it's about inner quiet as well. You might sit in a silent room, but if your mind is racing with thoughts of tomorrow's deadlines, unresolved conflicts, or worries about the future, you won't find clarity. That's why cultivating stillness requires intentionality. It's about learning to calm the storm inside you, to silence the inner critic, and to let go of the endless what-ifs and should-haves that clutter your mind. One of the most powerful practices for creating stillness is setting aside time each day to be alone with your thoughts and your spirit. This could be through meditation, prayer, journaling, or simply sitting quietly without an agenda. The key is to create a habit of pausing long enough to listen. At first, it might feel uncomfortable or even unproductive. Your mind may wander and you may not hear anything right away, but like tuning a radio to the right frequency, the more you practice, the easier it becomes to hear what's already there. It's also important to recognize that stillness doesn't always mean stopping everything you're doing. Sometimes you can find moments of stillness even in the middle of activity. You might be walking in nature, driving in your car, or sipping your morning coffee. The goal is to be present, to focus your attention on the moment, instead of letting your mind run in 100 different directions. When you cultivate this kind of mindfulness, you create space for your speak to you, even in the midst of a busy day. Stillness is a gateway to clarity because it allows you to access the deeper parts of yourself. In the quiet, you start to distinguish between the noise of your thoughts and the truth of your spirit. You begin to recognize patterns, gain insights, and see your situations from a higher perspective. This clarity doesn't come from overthinking or analyzing, it comes from listening. It's in the stillness that you often find answers to the questions you've been asking. Maybe you've been wrestling with a decision, unsure of which path to take. Instead of trying to figure it out with your mind, try sitting in stillness and letting your spirit guide you. The answer may not come in words, it might come as a feeling, an image, or a sense of knowing. But when it does, it will carry a sense of peace and certainty that goes beyond logic. Stillness also helps you reconnect with what truly matters. When you're constantly rushing from one thing to the next, it's easy to lose sight of your values, your purpose, and the things that bring you joy. But when you pause, you create an opportunity to realign with these deeper truths. You begin to see what's worth your energy and what's not. You gain clarity on what you need to let go of and what you need to hold on to. In a world that moves so fast, stillness might feel like a luxury, but it's not. It's a necessity. It's in the quiet moments that you reconnect with yourself and the divine guidance that's always available to you. Stillness doesn't just give you clarity, it gives you strength, it grounds you, centers you, and equips you to face whatever comes your way. Tuning out the noise is essential if you want to hear clearly in your spirit. We live in a world that's louder than ever before. Every moment is filled with distractions, from the constant ping of notifications to the endless chatter of news, opinions, and comparisons. It's no wonder so many people feel disconnected and unsure of their path. The truth is, the noise around us often drowns out the voice within. To hear in your spirit, you have to make a conscious choice to block out the noise and focus on what truly matters. Noise isn't just external, it's internal too. The endless stream of thoughts in your mind can be just as distracting as the world around you. How often do you catch yourself replaying past mistakes, worrying about things that haven't happened yet, or doubting your ability to move forward? These thoughts create a kind of mental static that keeps you from hearing the clarity and guidance that your spirit is offering. Tuning out the noise requires more than silencing your surroundings. It means quieting the inner dialogue that works against you. One of the first steps to tuning out the noise is recognizing its sources. Some of it comes from the environment around you, like the television blaring in the background, social media feeds filled with opinions, or even well-meaning friends and family who constantly share their perspectives. While it's not always possible to eliminate these influences completely, you can choose how much of your attention they receive. Setting boundaries is an act of self-care. Whether it's turning off your phone for an hour, stepping away from the endless scroll, or choosing not to engage in conversations that drain you, every small decision to limit external noise brings you closer to clarity. But external noise isn't the only challenge. The internal noise can be even more persistent. It's the voice that tells you you're not good enough, the one that replays conversations and criticisms over and over again. It's the part of you that gets stuck in cycles of overthinking and self-doubt. This noise often feels impossible to escape because it's coming from within. Yet, with intentional effort, you can learn to quiet these thoughts and create space for your spirit to speak. Practices like mindfulness and meditation can help you tune out the internal noise. By focusing on your breath or a single point of attention, you train your mind to let go of distractions and return to the present moment. This doesn't mean the thoughts disappear completely, but it does mean they lose their grip on you. Over time, you'll notice that the inner dialogue becomes less chaotic, and you'll find it easier to connect with the still, small voice of your spirit. Another powerful way to tune out the noise is by paying attention to what you're consuming. The things you read, watch, and listen have a profound impact on your thoughts and emotions. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, whether it's fear-based news, toxic relationships, or even your own self-criticism, it becomes harder to hear a positive life, affirming guidance of your spirit. Be intentional about filling your mind with things that uplift you. Read books that inspire you, listen to music that soothes your soul, and spend time with people who encourage and support you. Sometimes tuning out the noise means learning to be okay with silence. Silence can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to constant stimulation. But it's in the silence that you begin to hear what's been there all along. The voice of your spirit isn't loud or demanding. It's gentle and subtle. It doesn't compete for your attention the way the noise of the world does. Instead, it waits for you to create the space to listen. Distractions aren't always obvious. They often come disguised as responsibilities, opportunities, or even good intentions. It's easy to get caught up in doing more, achieving more, pleasing others, thinking that these things will bring you clarity or fulfillment. But the truth is, busyness is one of the biggest sources of noise in your life. When you're constantly on the go, there's little room to reflect, process, or connect with your spirit. Learning to say no, to prioritize what truly matters, and to protect your time and energy is a crucial part of tuning out the noise. The more you practice tuning out the noise, the more sensitive you become to the whispers of your spirit. It's like walking into a dark room. After being in bright sunlight at first, you can't see anything. But as your eyes adjust, you begin to notice the details. In the same way, when you quiet the noise in your life, your awareness sharpens. You start to recognize the guidance, the insights, and the peace that were there all along, waiting for you to notice. Feeding your faith instead of your fear is one of the most transformative choices you can make in life. Every day, you are presented with countless opportunities to decide what will occupy your mind and influence your emotions. Will you focus on the possibilities, the promises, and the potential for good? Or will you dwell on the uncertainties, the setbacks, and the what ifs that fuel fear? What you choose to focus on will grow, and what grows will ultimately shape your perspective, your actions, and your outcomes. Faith and fear cannot coexist in the same space, so you must be intentional about which one you nurture. Fear often begins as a small thought and uncertainty about the future, a worry about what others think, or a doubt about your ability to succeed. Left unchecked, this thought can grow into a narrative that shapes how you see yourself and the world around you. Fear thrives on attention. The more you feed it by replaying scenarios in your mind, entertaining worst-case outcomes, or letting it dictate your decisions, the stronger it becomes. Fear clouds your judgment, steals your peace, and creates barriers between you and the life you're meant to live. Faith, on the other hand, starts the same way with a thought, a belief, or a spark of hope. But unlike fear, faith requires you to look beyond your circumstances and trust in something greater than yourself. It asks you to believe in the unseen, to expect the best even when the evidence suggests otherwise, and to move forward despite uncertainty. Feeding your faith means intentionally choosing thoughts, actions, and habits that align with hope, courage, and trust. One of the most powerful ways to feed your faith is by focusing on gratitude. When you take time to acknowledge the good in your life, you shift your attention away from what's lacking or uncertain. Gratitude is a faith-building practice because it reminds you of how far you've come, the blessings you've received, and the ways you've overcome challenges in the past. It strengthens your belief that good things are not only possible, but already present in your life. Another way to feed your faith is by speaking words of encouragement and affirmation. The words you say to yourself and others carry power. When you speak words of fear, I can't do this, this will never work out, or I'm not good enough, you reinforce a mindset of limitation and doubt. But when you speak words of faith, I am capable, things are falling into place, or I am guided and supported, you create an environment where hope and confidence can thrive. The more you declare positive truth, the more they become ingrained in your belief system. Feeding your faith means being mindful of what you consume mentally and emotionally. The information you take in, whether through news, social media, books, or conversations, directly impacts your thoughts and feelings. If you're constantly exposed to stories of fear, conflict, or despair, it's easy to internalize those narratives and let them shape your outlook. But when you intentionally seek out content that inspires, educates, and uplifts, you create fertile ground for faith to grow. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges or living in denial. It means choosing to focus on what builds you up rather than what tears you down. Taking action is another vital part of feeding your faith. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It requires you to step out even when you're unsure of the outcome. Each step you take, no matter how small, reinforces your belief in your ability to move forward and make progress. Action silences fear because it proves that you are capable of facing challenges and finding solutions. Whether it's pursuing a goal, having a difficult conversation, or trying something new, every act of courage strengthens your faith muscle and diminishes the power of fear. Faith also grows when you reflect on past victories and moments when you've overcome adversity. Take time to remember the challenges you've faced, the lessons you've learned, and the strength you've discovered within yourself. These memories serve as evidence that you are resilient, capable, and supportive. They remind you that fear has been defeated before and that it can be defeated again. Each time you reflect on your journey, you reinforce your faith in your ability to navigate whatever comes next. Feeding your faith requires patience and persistence. Fear often demands immediate attention and thrives on urgency, while faith grows steadily and quietly over time. It's a daily practice of choosing to trust, to hope, and to believe in the good. The more you focus on faith, the more it becomes a natural part of your mindset, and the less power fear has to influence your life. Recognizing divine promptings is a practice that can transform the way you navigate life. These promptings are subtle nudges, feelings, or thoughts that seem to come from somewhere beyond your understanding. They often appear as gentle guidance in moments of uncertainty, offering direction or reassurance when you need it most. Yet because they are quiet and unassuming, they can be easy to overlook or dismiss as coincidence. Learning to recognize and trust these promptings is a process of tuning in, becoming more aware, and allowing yourself to be guided by something greater than your own reason. Divine promptings don't usually come with flashing lights or loud declarations. They are often quiet impressions, a sense of peace about a decision, a persistent idea that keeps coming back to you, or a sudden clarity in the middle of confusion. They may show up as a phrase that stands out in a conversation, a piece of advice that feels especially relevant, or even an unexpected opportunity that aligns with your deepest desires. These moments are not random, they are invitations to listen and act on the guidance you're receiving. One of the most important steps in recognizing divine promptings is learning to trust your intuition. Intuition is often dismissed as a gut feeling or instinct, but it's much more than that. It's a way of knowing that comes from your spirit, unclouded by overthinking or external influences. When you feel a strong pull in a certain direction or experience an unexplainable sense of knowing, it's worth paying attention to. Intuition is one of the ways divine guidance communicates with you, and the more you trust it, the more attuned you become to recognizing promptings when they arise. Quieting your mind is another key to recognizing these promptings. In the noise and busyness of daily life, it's easy to miss the gentle whispers of divine guidance. When your mind is filled with worry, doubt, or endless to-do lists, there's little room for clarity to break through. Taking time to pause, breathe, and center yourself creates space for you to tune in and notice the subtle signals you might otherwise overlook. Stillness allows you to differentiate between the chatter of your thoughts and the steady, calm voice of your spirit. Recognizing divine promptings also requires a sense of openness and willingness. Sometimes the guidance you receive may not align with what you were expecting or hoping for. It might nudge you towards something unfamiliar or uncomfortable, challenging you to step out of your comfort zone or let go of something you've been holding on to. These promptings often call you to trust in a path you can't fully see yet. By remaining open to the possibility that there is a greater plan at work, you create space for the guidance to unfold in ways that may surprise and bless you. Reflecting on past experiences can help you become more aware of divine promptings in your life. Think about moments when you felt a strong pull to make a certain decision, even if it didn't make logical sense at the time. Consider times when you followed an instinct or took a leap of faith, only to realize later that it led you exactly where you needed to be. These moments serve as reminders that you are connected to a source of wisdom that sees beyond your current circumstances. The more you reflect on these experiences, the more you'll recognize similar promptings in the present. Faith is essential in recognizing and acting on divine promptings. Sometimes the guidance you receive won't come with a full explanation or clear guarantees. You may feel led to take a step without knowing what the outcome will be, or you might sense a direction that feels risky or unconventional. In these moments, faith becomes your anchor. It allows you to move forward with trust, believing that the prompting you feel is leading you towards something good, even if you can't see the entire picture yet. Patience is also a critical part of this process. Divine promptings often come in their own time, not necessarily when you're seeking them or expecting them. There may be moments when you feel uncertain, waiting for clarity that hasn't yet arrived. In these times, it's important to remain patient and open, trusting that the guidance will come when it's needed. Sometimes the very act of waiting teaches you to deepen your trust and reliance on the wisdom of your spirit. Acting on divine promptings is what solidifies your ability to recognize them. The more you listen and respond, the more you strengthen your connection to this guidance. Even if the step you take feels small or insignificant, each act of trust builds your confidence in the process. Over time, you'll begin to notice how these small steps lead to greater clarity, alignment, and blessings in your life. Recognizing divine promptings isn't just about hearing them, it's about having the courage to follow where they lead. Cultivating gratitude helps you stay attuned to divine guidance. When you take time to appreciate the ways you've been guided in the past, you create an atmosphere of receptivity and trust. Gratitude shifts your focus away from doubt and toward the awareness that you are supported and connected. This practice makes it easier to notice and trust the promptings when they come, as you've already trained yourself to see the evidence of guidance in your life. Acting on what you hear in your spirit is the bridge between intention and transformation. It's one thing to sense guidance, feel a prompting, or have a clear knowing about what step to take next. But it's another to actually move forward with it. Often the gap between hearing and doing is where doubt, fear, or hesitation creeps in. Yet the true power of divine guidance lies not just in recognizing it, but in taking action on it. When you act on what you hear in your spirit, you open the door for growth, breakthroughs, and blessings that wouldn't otherwise unfold. Taking action requires courage because acting on spiritual guidance often means stepping into the unknown. It might involve making a decision that feels uncertain or taking a path that doesn't fully make sense in the moment. This kind of action demands trust that what you feel in your spirit is leading you towards something greater, even if you can't see the full picture yet. Trust doesn't always mean you have all the answers. It means you're willing to move forward with faith, knowing that clarity and confirmation often come after you take the first step. When you hear something in your spirit, there's often a sense of urgency or importance attached to it. That nudge isn't there by accident. It's a call to respond. Ignoring it or delaying action can lead to missed opportunities or prolonged uncertainty. The longer you wait, the easier it becomes for doubt to creep in, questioning whether you truly heard correctly or whether the timing is right. Acting quickly, even if it's just a small step, keeps the momentum alive and reinforces your connection to the guidance you've received. Sometimes the action you're called to take might feel uncomfortable or inconvenient. It might require you to step out of your comfort zone, face a fear, or let go of something that's no longer serving you. These moments can be challenging, but they're also where the most growth happens. The discomfort is often a sign that you're moving in the right direction, pushing past old limitations to embrace something new. When you act in spite of the discomfort, you build resilience and confidence in your ability to trust and follow your spirit. It's important to remember that not every action has to be grand or life-changing. Acting on what you hear in your spirit often involves small, simple steps that lead to greater outcomes over time. You might feel prompted to reach out to someone, make a change in your daily routine, or take time to rest or recharge. These seemingly minor actions may not feel significant in the moment, but they often set the stage for bigger shifts down the road. Each small step is a building block, creating momentum and aligning you with the path you're meant to walk. Taking action also involves being willing to embrace the unknown. When you follow spiritual guidance, you may not always know where it will lead or what the result will be. This uncertainty can be intimidating, but it's also where the magic happens. Acting without having all the answers requires you to release control and trust in a greater plan. It allows you to move beyond the limitations of your own understanding and step into a flow of alignment where things often unfold in ways you couldn't have planned or predicted. Acting on what you hear in your spirit is also a declaration of faith. It's a way of saying, I trust this guidance, and I'm willing to move forward with it. This act of trust sends a powerful message to your spirit and to the universe. You are willing to listen, to take risks, and to align your actions with your inner knowing. This alignment creates a sense of harmony and purpose, allowing you to navigate life with greater clarity and confidence. Sometimes acting on spiritual guidance means making decisions that others might not understand. You might feel led to take a path that looks unconventional or to pursue a goal that seems unrealistic to those around you. In these moments, it's important to stay grounded in your own truth and remember that the guidance you receive is uniquely tailored to you. What feels right in your spirit may not make sense to others, but it doesn't have to. Trusting and acting on your inner guidance is a deeply personal journey that requires you to honor your own path, even when it doesn't align with external expectations. Acting on what you hear in your spirit also strengthens your ability to hear more clearly in the future. Each time you follow through on a prompting, you build trust in yourself and in the guidance you're receiving. This trust creates a positive feedback loop. The more you act, the more you strengthen your connection to your spirit, and the more confident you become in recognizing and responding to future guidance. Over time, this practice becomes second nature, allowing you to move through life with greater ease and alignment. Finally, acting on spiritual guidance often brings a sense of peace, even in the midst of uncertainty. While the action itself might be challenging or require effort, there's a deep reassurance that comes from knowing you're following the path that's meant for you. This peace doesn't necessarily mean the journey will be easy, but it does provide a foundation of trust and confidence as you move forward. Remaining patient in the process is one of the most challenging yet vital aspects of walking in alignment with your spirit. It's easy to get excited when you hear something in your spirit, a nudge, a promise, a sense of direction. You might feel energized, ready to move forward and see results immediately. But often the journey from hearing to fulfillment is not instant. It's a process that unfolds over time, and this requires patience. Patience doesn't mean passively waiting. It means actively trusting that things are working behind the scenes, even when you can't see the evidence yet. Life's processes rarely operate on our timelines. We live in a world that values speed and instant gratification, but spiritual growth and fulfillment don't adhere to those rules. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't expect it to sprout the next day. You water it, nurture it, and trust that the roots are growing even before you see the first leaf break through the soil. The same principle applies to the guidance you receive in your spirit. Acting on it is like planting the seed, but patience is what allows it to grow and bear fruit in its due season. One of the hardest parts of remaining patient is the temptation to take matters into your own hands. When the process feels slow, you might start to doubt whether things are really happening as they should. Fear and frustration can creep in, pushing you to force outcomes or rush decisions. But acting out of impatience often leads to unnecessary complications. It's like trying to pull open a flower before it's ready to bloom. Instead of helping it grow, you hinder its natural process. Trusting the timing means resisting the urge to control and allowing the process to unfold in its own way. Patience also means learning to find contentment in the present moment. When you're focused on what hasn't happened yet, it's easy to overlook the beauty and opportunities that are right in front of you. The waiting period isn't just about passing time, it's about preparation. It's a time to grow, to learn, and to strengthen your faith. Sometimes what feels like a delay is actually a season of refining, shaping you into the person you need to be to handle what's coming next. Embracing the present moment allows you to fully engage with the process instead of simply enduring it. During the waiting period, it's important to stay connected to the guidance you've received. It's natural for doubts to arise when progress isn't immediately visible, but those doubts doubt to dictate your actions. Remind yourself of what you felt in your spirit when you first received the guidance. Hold on to the clarity, the peace, and the sense of direction that came with it. Revisiting that initial moment of insight can help anchor you when the waiting feels long and the path seems unclear. Patience isn't passive, it's active trust. It's about continuing to take small, steady steps even when you're not sure how everything will come together. It might mean putting in the work, staying consistent, or maintaining your focus on the goal without losing heart. It's easy to become discouraged when progress feels slow, but every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to where you're meant to be. Patience allows you to stay the course without being swayed by setbacks or delays. Sometimes, the waiting period reveals things you couldn't see before. What initially feels like a delay might turn out to be protection, preparation, or even a redirection. There may be factors at play that you're unaware of, connections being made, doors opening, or situations aligning in ways that only make sense in hindsight. Patience gives space for these unseen elements to come together, creating an outcome that's better than anything you could have orchestrated on your own. It's important to surround yourself with encouragement during the waiting period. Patience can feel isolating, especially when it seems like everyone else is moving forward while you're standing still. Lean on people who uplift you, who remind you of your purpose, and who encourage you to stay faithful to the process. Their support can help you keep your perspective and maintain your trust in the timing of your journey. Patience also requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing the waiting period as wasted time, view it as an integral part of the journey. It's in these moments that you develop resilience, perseverance, and deeper faith. The waiting isn't a punishment, it's a preparation. When you approach it with this mindset, it becomes easier to embrace the process instead of resisting it. Lastly, remaining patient means keeping your focus on the bigger picture. It's easy to get caught up in the immediate challenges, setbacks, or delays to the ultimate goal. When you remind yourself of why you're on this path and the vision that inspired you to start, it becomes easier to stay committed, even when the process takes longer than expected. The journey may not always be smooth or predictable, but patience allows you to stay grounded and trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on what it means to truly hear in your spirit, let us remember that this journey is one of faith, trust, and action. It's about silencing the noise of doubt, feeding your faith, recognizing divine promptings, and moving boldly in the direction of the guidance you receive. It's about understanding that growth and transformation are a process that require patience, persistence, and a deep connection to the voice within. When you align yourself with what you hear in your spirit, you tap into a source of wisdom and strength far greater than your own. You begin to live with clarity, purpose, and confidence, knowing that each step you take, no matter how uncertain, leads you closer to the life you are meant to live. So I encourage you to keep listening, keep trusting, and keep moving forward. Even when the path isn't clear, even when the process feels slow, remember that you are being guided towards something extraordinary. What you hear in your spirit is not just a whisper, it's a call to greatness. Embrace it fully and watch how it transforms your life in ways you never imagined.